Today is going to be less of a monologue and more of a ponderance. I don't know if that's actually a thing. I've had the most exhausting week. I guess for the last 5 nights I've slept less than 3 hours a night. Been working so hard on a mega project with Jake Jackson, and then yesterday I had to go to London for a 15-minute meeting. So literally flew down, 15-minute meeting, flew back. So when I'm this exhausted, my brain starts to spark, and before I kind of sober up and become my normal kind of unknackered self, I think it's quite a good idea to share these kind of absurd cranial revelations. So bear with me if you can or will or are inclined. Someone said, and we don't know who it seems, that necessity is the mother of invention. And invention in our world is a thing we call originality, coming up with something new. And the problem I have with this kind of analogy in our world, making music, is what we do, well, it isn't wholly necessary. Certainly being original isn't anyway. But yet, so many of us are obsessed with this concept of originality, and that being the golden chalice, the route to paradise. I myself, when I meet trailblazers, quiz them tiresomely, nauseatingly about the source of this originality, this magic fruit. I want to know, if necessity is the mother of invention, who's the father? Holyrood Park, where we are now, plays host to Arthur's Seat, which is a 330 million year old volcano right in the centre of Edinburgh. It's a massive tourist attraction, yet this route that I take every morning, I never see any tourists. In fact, once I took a very good friend up this route who is immensely famous, with the assurance that we wouldn't bump into any civilians. It's the route that has this spot in it, insanely beautiful view of Duddingston Loch on this kind of romantic rock, marred only by the preponderance of human ashes. Yes, it's that beautiful, this thing is always covered with them. It's a well-worn path that feels secret and exciting, weaving its way through the gorse. And whilst it traverses cliff edges, it doesn't go over them. We actually have a bit of a family rule when it comes to walking on Arthur's Seat. If the path is well worn, it will never ever lead to a cliff edge, for obvious reasons. So we always stick to the paths. And this one leads up to this spot, Crow Hill. Easily the best views of Edinburgh, Edinburgh Castle, Arthur's Seat, Firth of Forth, or is it Forth of Firth, always get that mixed up, and the North Sea. And the thing that's extraordinary about this hill is there's never anyone here. There's 3, including myself, here today, which isn't the case for Arthur's Seat over there. Literally teeming with hundreds of people. And for me, this is going to get me back to the original point, not just a massive tangent. I've been pondering this phenomena for the last 2 or 3 years. It's an extraordinary example of human behaviour. You can see literally trenches have been formed from centuries of human passage up to this hill, which doesn't have anything going for it that this hill does, except it's maybe 30 feet taller and it has a literally Arthurian name. I guess what it gets down to is fundamentally who we are hunter-gatherers. We have 2 fundamental needs when we're on this planet. That is to eat and survive, and the other is to shag. And you can't get that without that. You can eat and survive without shagging. It's not very nice, but it's possible. But you can't shag without surviving. And I think at some point, maybe 3 or 4 millennia ago, we realised that, you can hunt for shags, but it's far easier and more pleasant just to put some food on the table and have a shag after it. So why do people go to the top of Arthur's Seat and not Crow Hill? Well, I think it's because there's a clearly worn path. There's a route to the top that doesn't lead over a cliff edge. And this is where I think we have a problem as musicians, because I think at the heart of being a hunter-gatherer is to take the path most oft taken. It's the safest route, it's the surest route. And, where music being necessary, well, it's a massive part of the human condition, but I don't think it necessarily leads to plentiful food. I'm sure many professional musicians would support me on that. It probably leads more to the shags. And why are there other paths on Holyrood Park, on Arthur's Seat, that lead to different destinations? Well, I think that is the kind of necessity, the drive to explore, to discover new places is often driven by famine. This is the need part of the equation, which is why you will meet more hard-working composers than you will meet original ones. And if there is no need to take a fresh path, what is the thing that drives us to do so anyway? Well, I think if we're looking more at the shagging side of the spectrum, it's not need, it's desire. And this is where I struggle, because I desire originality more than anything else in the work that I do, but I have never achieved it. And I think this is because the mother and the father are interdependent. You don't get the child of the mother and father without the mother and father coming together. I hope I'm not making this point too abstract. I feel that what we need to do is create our own famine. So what I have done is I've stepped away from my computer and I've invested in this modular kind of odyssey. And why I'm taking this so seriously, and I laugh at people saying this is just going to be gathering dust in a few months at the back of Christian Studio, is I am pinning my hopes on this modular experiment, stepping away from the opulence of my computer and the terabytes of sounds that I have, options, the ability to correct, to adjust, to step away from that comfortable, well-worn path into a new arena. Now, it may lead to a new oasis with kind of people eating grapes and drinking wine and shagging. It may indeed lead me over a cliff, but it is the only way I can find in myself to create both the mother and father of invention, of originality. I'm obsessed with Albion, the history of this nation, its strange myths, its sagas, and I would love to write a kind of mythological saga just with my modular synth to create the music imagined of that time. It may be a stupid idea, but it is an original one. Where it leads me, I don't know. Possibly over a cliff. Certainly a financial one anyway. Excuse my ponderances. I would really be interested to hear what your views are on originality. If you agree that necessity is the mother, desire is the father, what does that equation look like? Is it a triangle, or is it a subdivision or a multiplication? And as always, I'd really appreciate it if you like what I do, if you hit like. Subscribe if you haven't done, and check out Modular Mondays tomorrow, because I've got one more piece of the jigsaw to really create this true computer famine within me. As always, thanks for watching and see you next time.